Welcome, Didi. Welcome, Tom. Welcome, Ryan. All right, let's share screen. We'll get started. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Atitang nang vagameya napatikang kaya nagatang yadattitang pahinang tang apatancha anagatang Pachupannang chayo dhammang tata tata vipassati asamhirang asankuppam tang vidda manubruhaye ajeva kitchang atapang ko janya maranang suve nahi no sangarang tena mahasenena machuna evang viharing ataping ahoratang ataditang tangve badde karatoti santo achikate muni. All right, English. A single excellent night discourse. Let not a person revive the past, or on the future build his hopes, for the past has been left behind and the future has not been reached. Instead, with insight, let him see each presently arisen state. Let him know that and be sure of it, invincibly, unshakably. Today the effort must be made, tomorrow death may come, who knows? No bargain with mortality can keep him and his hordes away. But one who dwells thus ardently, relentlessly, by day, by night, it is he, the peaceful sage, has said, who has had a single excellent night. All right, friends. Welcome, Ryan and Michelle and Chris. Tom, that's a good question. I don't think so. I don't. I think all of my streams when I'm in Colorado will be the same time. I mean, over the years that might change. You know, like when I have a monastery and things like that. I can't guarantee it'll be like that forever, but at least in the early times, I don't think that my streams will change. As a matter of fact, it'll be better for me because that means I get to do them earlier. Don't have to be up as late or doing streaming as late anyway. All right. So let's do our guided meditation. Set your body up in a comfortable and stable position. We'll start by doing a mindful scan of the body, starting from the feet, moving up to the head. Remember, as you move through the body, to focus in on whatever feeling or sensation arises in that part of the body. If you notice a small discomfort or imbalance in the posture, now's the time to adjust it. Remember to pay close attention to important aspects of the posture, such as the pelvis, the spine, perhaps the most important spots when sitting on a cushion in terms of posture are knees, pelvis, and spine. These three spots are probably more than any other going to determine your ability to sit for longer periods of time with less pain and imbalance. When you're done setting up your body in that comfortable and stable position, move on to following the breath. Remember to lay down your burdens. Acknowledge, let go, and return. For the remaining time period of the meditation, we'll switch to doing some contemplations. The first contemplation will be Sila Nusati. This is recollecting, contemplating your good deeds that you've done in the past. The Buddha teaches us Sila Nusati as a counter to our negative, critical, fault-finding mind, and to have us reflect on the results of good deeds so that we continue to do more of them. So for now, just bring up various good deeds you've done as far back as you can remember. Child, adult, just contemplate your thought processes to why you did that deed, what the results were, how other people were affected, their perspective, yours. Spend some time contemplating your good deeds. switch contemplations to a gratitude contemplation, reflecting on the things, people, places, experiences, things in your life that you're grateful for. Gratitude is a natural outgrowth of contentment. If you don't develop contentment, then you're never satisfied, or gratitude, or having gratitude towards what you have, you're always looking for more. Contemplate gratitude, what you're grateful for, what you should be grateful for, or even if you're not grateful, why? Slowly open your eyes. Become aware of the room around you, your body's position in it, reflecting on the state of your mind before and after the meditation, and contemplating any experiences that may have stood out. Welcome, friends. It's Monday night, so that means it is time for another festival of Dhamma with the Maggaseka community. It's time for Dhammapalooza. We've just done our meditation. Now it's time for a little Dhamma talk. If you have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. Hello, Rick. Always good to see you, my friend. Hello, Didi. All right, Jayantha, welcome. Chris. All right. So the topic that I've chosen for the short Dhamma talk today is a topic that if you've been around long enough, you've probably heard me talk multiple times, because it is something that I don't think is taught enough. And this is the Punnakeriyavatu. The Punnakeriyavatu is a sutta, and the English translation is the basis for meritorious activity. Most of you are probably familiar with the way of describing the Noble Eightfold Path, the three divisions, right? Sila, Samadhi, and Panya. Right? Ethics, immersion, and wisdom. But there is another way of talking about the path. And this is in the Punnakeriyavatu. There's another group of three. It's Dana, Sila, and Bhavana. The Buddha talks about in a couple suttas the gradual path, the gradual practice. And of course, all of these fit within the Noble Eightfold Path, because the Noble Eightfold Path is the practice. But in terms of the list of the gradual practice, it starts with Dana. Right? There's no part of the Noble Eightfold Path called Dana, but it's in right thought, right intention, under nekamma, letting go, giving. Right? So we're going to go over Dana, Sila, and Bhavana. And this also correlates to, maybe you've heard me talk about, the beginning of the Buddhist path is letting go, the middle of the Buddhist path is letting go, and the end of the Buddhist path is letting go. The very beginning of the path, according to the Buddha, and the beginning of letting go is Dana, practicing generosity, practicing letting go of something, giving something without any expectations, without any expectations of thanks, without any expectations of how what you're giving would be or should be used, without any expectations of recognition. You are practicing generosity simply because giving is good, for the benefit of cultivating the path. Now, this is a practice. Even somebody who's a good person, they practice giving. The more you develop your mind, the more you see there's always kind of like some expectations, some hopes, some ulterior things. And it's not that it's, it's a horrible person that you have. You can't give without any expectations. This is just the nature of the mind with craving. So practicing generosity without any expectations is actually not a minuscule feat. It is literally practicing letting go. It's a physical letting go. It's a mental letting go. So one should not see of true practice of Dana as a minor thing, or as a thing that you do first and then you give up, or anything like that. Right? So this is a very important. This is, even if somebody all they did for 3 or 4 lifetimes was practice Dana, that's good. They're developing the path. As they're practicing giving, practicing letting go, very important. And so, hello, Gregory, welcome. And so we can also think about, when we think about the generosity, we'd like to think about like how much is trying to explain why there's such a I should say a focus in Buddhist, when we talk about dana, there's such a focus of giving to monastics as opposed to just in general giving. Now, if you read the suttas, the Buddha talks about in general giving, and the Buddha does talk about, kind of what is the best, what bears the best fruit, which obviously like giving to arahants and things like that. And the way it's seen in Buddhism is that you are propagating the teachings to have a long life. This is, you talk to Sri Lankan people, and you can see this is so deeply ingrained. It's part of their culture. It's part of their identity, part of who they are, that they are the defenders of the Dhamma from the beginning, like the first country outside of India, right, who have kept the Dhamma alive for thousands of years. They have this feeling, this thought of supporting monasteries and supporting Dhammadutta, Buddhist missionary work and things like that, right? Out of generosity for all beings. And so I get that. I do, because, for me, as I developed in my own path and practice, I saw in my own experience, in my own views, that like actually the best I could do is actually support Dhamma. Grow the Dhamma in the West. Like that's better. That's better than just, giving once a month to a charity or whatever. Like, so for me, that was like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Right. And so I understand that, because it can be for the benefit of so many people. And so this is why there's a kind of focus on monks and monasteries and stuff when it comes to dana, but you should not just think that the Buddha is only talking about that. Right? Even on the list, right? You could go in the suttas and you can see a list. The top of the most benefit is giving to a Buddha and an Arahant Sangha and all this kind of stuff. But even on the very, very bottom, it's still a meritorious deed to give even to criminals, even to animals. It's still a very good thing to practice dana. So being somebody who practices dana, the Buddha says, be like a thunderstorm that drenches the highlands and the lowlands. It's just giving to all beings. It doesn't matter high, low, rich, poor, whatever. You're just practicing giving. Like, this is the ideal of generosity. And then we have sila. This is also a letting go. This is a limiting of your actions to develop skillfulness. The very basic sila for a Buddhist layperson is the 5 precepts. You are limiting yourself, right? You're refraining from killing beings, you're refraining from stealing, from lying, from sexual misconduct, from taking intoxicants. This is a letting go. Even somebody who might be a staunch, like, well, one glass of wine during dinner, that's really not, I'm not going to get drunk, that's fine. It even has health benefits according to some studies, blah, 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 blah. But most of the time you reach a point where you're like, you know what? I'm going to give it up. I don't really need it. I'm just going to give it up. I'm going to let it go. And they do. Not because they get drunk or anything, just because you know what? I think even this, I'm going to let it go. It's a good sacrifice. I'm practicing letting go. So having good sila, good virtue, good morality, developing good ethics is a meritorious deed. The Buddha says that somebody who follows the 5 precepts, this is just the 5 precepts, let alone more precepts in trying to be more skillful and ethical and skillful beyond the 5 precepts. The Buddha says that one who develops the 5 precepts gives a gift of fearlessness to the world. What does this mean? Think about people in your life. Is there somebody that you know that wouldn't try to kill you or steal from you or commit sexual misconduct against you or lie to you? Do you know such people? You probably hold them in pretty high regard, don't you? You know that they have your back. They can be back there and they're not going to stab you in it. They're not going to stab you in the back. They're not going to try to steal while your back is turned or anything like that. You trust them. This is what means giving a gift of fearlessness. And the Buddha says that one who gives a gift of fearlessness also partakes in that fearlessness. What does that mean? You're a virtuous, generous, good person. While you cause less harm to others, less and less people want to harm you. So you get a gift of that fearlessness. And so this is the meritorious deed, the benefit of developing your sila. And the last is bhavana. Most of you probably know that word from the place where I ordained, where Bhante Gunaratana and friends built and developed over 40 years. Bhavana society. Bhavana means to cultivate, like a farmer cultivates a field. A Bhavana society means a society of cultivators. Right? You could say a Maggaseka society, a society of students on the path. Right? But a bhavana, to do bhavana, is to cultivate the mind, to develop the mind. So this is the parts of the mind, the parts of the practice, like right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. We want to understand the mind deeply and to cleanse the mind of defilements. This is also a very meritorious deed. What does it mean for something to be meritorious? It means that it is something that is praised by the wise. That the average good person would say, yes, that's a very good thing. That's what it means to be meritorious, to do something meritorious. It means that the wise would say, very good, sadhu, keep going. Keep doing these things. Why? Because these are part of the package that leads you to awakening, to freedom from suffering. So you can keep this grouping in your mind along with Sila, Samadhi, and Panya. You can also keep in your mind Dana, Sila, and Bhavana. Practicing generosity. Even I'm practicing, I'm working on it. I'm not that great at it, to be honest with you. Because, you know, like I'll give retreats or whatever, and I'll do, I'll do teachings, but it's like, I was like, okay, I'm done. See you later. I need to be by myself. Where I've seen teachers who are, like they're leading retreats, and even during a break, they'll be like, I'll be available if you need to talk. And I'm like, on my retreat, I'm like, I'm on break. See you later. So even I am still working on having ultimate generosity of my time and my effort and things like that. So practicing dana is a good thing. One of these days, perhaps I will have a master level dana ability as a monk, but not yet. All right. So I think we're good. Remember dana, sila, and bhavana. Practice generosity, it's letting go. Practice sila, it's letting go. Practice bhavana, it's letting go. All right, I see a question. Hello, Visakha, welcome. Visakha says, is it important to not tell others about what you have given, and not letting the left hand know what the right hand doing, sort of thing? Well, what I would say is definitely be comfortable without getting praised for your generosity. One thing that's very common in the Buddhist world is you'll see, like, you go to like a temple or whatever, and you'll see like a chair, you'll see like everything, and it'll have like donated by such and such person. And I've always, I don't know, I always felt that feels a bit off. It's Bhante Gunaratana. Even like during the Katina, when the family who would support the Katina, he wouldn't say their name. It's like, this family has been, very generous or whatever. I mean, everybody, obviously people knew because they were the ones kind of coordinating and ordinating things. But there was I think Bhante G and I have that same kind of feeling. I don't think it needs to be overly celebrated or praised. Sadhu, very good. And, I have talked about multiple times over the years, I wrote an article about it, about being a generosity ninja. About actually, you can kind of get a thrill of doing something good for somebody and they never know it's you. It's just, oh yeah, that's, I was able to do that and nobody ever found out. That's amazing. Just me. Because the Buddha will say in the suttas, even if you commit a wrong and you go out, if you commit a wrong in the middle of the wilderness, there is still somebody who knows you. You can't hide it even from yourself. So this is a kind of a neat thought, right? It's like, I did this generous thing and I am the only one who will ever know. That's great. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think, if it comes up or you talk about it or whatever, I mean, you can talk about it in certain things. That's fine. Just watch the mind. Just what is the purpose for bringing it up, or what's the purpose for, talking about it. Tom says, skillful and meritorious, interchangeable terms? Yes. Basically, yes. I mean, technically, no. It's two different Pali words. It's kusala and punya. But they're basically synonyms, yes. Yeah, Chris, did we meet at Bhavana? Have we met in person right before? like a long, long time ago. I know I haven't seen you in person in a long time, but I'm pretty sure we met at Bhavana. Or am I wrong? I think since the chat is over, let's read a sutta. It's a fairly short sutta. It's one of the most important suttas, at least when it comes to bhavana and the cultivation, not the place. This is the Dvaitavataka Sutta, two kinds of thoughts. Majjhima Nikaya number 19. This is one of the few suttas where the Buddha talks about a practice he did and his mind state, how his mind was before he became awakened. So this has a variety of reasons why this is a wonderful sutta. Let's see if I can't do this and then make it bigger. There we go. Two kinds of thought. So I have heard at one time the Buddha was staying near Savatthi in Jeta's Grove in Anathapindika's monastery. There the Buddha addressed the mendicants. Mendicants, Venerable Sir, they replied. The Buddha said this: Mendicants, before my awakening, when I was still unawakened but intent on awakening, and that's where you get the term bodhisattva, right? In the early texts, this was not like a job description or like a person or anything. It's just the state of basically being unawakened but intent on awakening. I thought, why don't I meditate by continually dividing my thoughts into two classes? I remember this very clearly. The first time I ever read this sutta, halfway through, I just started doing this. Right? It's very simple. Why don't I meditate? Why don't I observe my mind, dividing my thoughts into two classes? So I assigned sensual, malicious, and cruel thoughts to one class, and I assigned right intention, nekamma sankappo, abhyapada sankappo, and avihingsa sankappo. This is literally the second of the Noble Eightfold Path. All right? So you are choosing to identify your thoughts. Is this a thought of letting go or grasping and clinging? Is this a thought of goodwill or ill will? Is this a thought of harming, wanting to harm, or a thought of harmlessness? Right? These are the two things. You're observing your mind, watching the thoughts that arise, and dividing them into these two classes. Then, as I meditated, diligent, keen, and resolute, a sensual thought arose. So this is a thought of grasping, craving. I understood. This sensual thought has arisen in me. It leads to hurting myself, to hurting others, and hurting both. Huh. Yeah. All right. It blocks wisdom. It's on the side of distress. It doesn't lead to extinguishment. Right? So you are observing a thought, and then you are discriminating. Right? You are saying, is this a thought of goodwill or ill will? Right? So you recognize, oh, this is a bad thought, and if I fed this thought, if I became enraptured by it, if I followed it, it would lead to my harm and the harm of others. When I reflected that it leads to hurting myself, it went away. When I reflected that it leads to hurting others, it went away. When I reflected that it leads to hurting both, it went away. When I reflected that it blocks wisdom, it's on the side of distress, and doesn't lead to extinguishment, it went away. So this is an important thing, and this is actually, when you observe your mind, this is exactly what you will see. 9 times out of 10, just seeing Mara is enough for it to go away. Just like the bhikkhus and the bhikkhunis in the Tara and the Therigatha that we've been reading. I see you, Mara. And then Mara goes away dejected. 9 times out of 10, maybe 8 times out of 10, but most of the time, just noticing that it is a unskillful, unwholesome thought that would lead to your suffering and the harm of others is enough for it to just go away. You're not attaching to it. You're not engaging with it. You're recognizing its danger, and it just goes away. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's very strong because you've fed it a lot in the past. And that's when you need to apply the next sutta. That will be Majjhima Nikaya number 20 when we go over that, where that gives you tips for dealing with thoughts that just don't go away. Removal of distracting thoughts. All right. So I gave up, got rid of, and eliminated any sensual thoughts that arose. So it's important to understand here. Remember, it says it went away. You gave up. This is not a forcing out of the mind. This is not a... That's not what this is. This is a literal acknowledging its unskillfulness and not feeding it. Giving it up is not feeding it. This thought of anger, I'm not feeding it anymore. I'm letting it go. And it becomes weaker. So that's what the Buddha is talking about here. There's only very, very rare cases where you are trying to force stuff out of your mind. We'll talk about that probably next week when we talk about the next sutta. Then as I meditated, diligent, keen, and resolute, a malicious thought arose, a cruel thought. I understood. These thoughts have arisen in me. They lead to hurting myself, others, and hurting both. It blocks wisdom. It's on the side of distress, and it doesn't lead to extinguishment. When I reflected that these lead to hurting myself, others, and both, it went away. When I reflected it blocks wisdom on the side of distress, doesn't lead to awakening, I gave up, got rid of and eliminated any cruel thoughts that arose. See, this word eliminated, it's a bit strong, right? Dispelled, removed, or finished. Right? So eliminated, it has this kind of connotation of you're attacking it. And that's not what the Buddha is saying here. And I'm not even going against Bhante Sujato in this, because Bhante Bhikkhu Bodhis is a bit strong as well. But it is what it is. Whatever a mendicant frequently thinks about and considers becomes their heart's inclination. This is perhaps one of the most important lines, not only in this sutta, but in Buddhist practice. And, I remember growing up in school, I saw basically this, right? In the classroom. The Buddha is saying this 2,600 years ago. Whatever you think about, whatever you allow in your mind, whatever you feed in your mind, that will become the mind's inclination. That will be what the mind rests in, what the mind craves for, what the mind accepts. So you should be very careful what you allow in your mind. If they often think about and consider sensual thoughts, they've given up the thought of renunciation to cultivate sensual thought. Their mind inclines towards sensual thoughts. If they've often think about and consider malicious thoughts, their mind inclines towards malicious thoughts, or cruel thoughts, inclines towards cruel thoughts. Suppose in the last month of the rainy season in autumn, when the crops grow closely together, and a cowherd must take care of the cattle. He'd tap and poke them with his staff on his side, then to keep them in check. Why is that? He sees that if they wander into the crops, he could be executed, imprisoned, fined, or condemned. In the same way, I saw that unskillful qualities have the drawbacks of sordidness and corruption, and the skillful qualities have the benefit and cleansing power of renunciation. So think about this simile. Right? The cowherd in the end of the rainy season has to keep a close eye on the cows. Make sure that they're not wandering all around, trampling crops, etc. This is paying attention to your mind, right? Being discriminating of your mind. This is unskillful, this is skillful. Don't go there, cows. We'll see the continuation of this simile after this. In the same way, I saw that unskillful qualities have the drawbacks of sordidness and corruption, and that skillful qualities have the benefit and cleansing power of renunciation. Ah, yes, Chris, we did meet. Okay, so you were at the retreat. Yeah. Yeah, I wasn't, still at that time, I wasn't teaching most of the days of the retreat. That was still somewhat early, but I was coordinating for sure. I was maybe having 1 or 2 days of retreat, depending on. It was 19, like 2019, 2018, where I ended up doing probably half the days of a retreat, sometimes more. I remember Bhante Ji, when it was just him and I, and he'd be like, okay, I do 1 day, you do 4 days. I'm like, Bhante, they didn't come to see me, they came to see you. But even then, he was in his 90s. It's exhausting to do a multi-day retreat like that. But yeah. All right, continuing on. Then I meditated, diligent, keen, and resolute. A thought of renunciation arose. I understood this thought of renunciation has arisen in me. It doesn't lead to hurting myself or hurting others or hurting both. It nourishes wisdom. It's on the side of freedom from distress, and it leads to extinguishment. If I were to keep on thinking and considering this all night, all day, all night, and all day, I see no danger that would come from that. Still, thinking and considering for too long would tire my body. And when my body is tired, the mind is stressed. And when the mind is stressed, it's far from immersion. So I still settled, unified, and immersed my mind internally. Why is that? So that my mind would not be stressed. Then as I meditated, diligent, keen, and resolute, a thought of goodwill arose in me. A thought of harmlessness arose in me. I understood this thought of harmlessness has arisen in me. It doesn't lead to hurting myself, hurting others, or hurting both. It nourishes wisdom. It's on the side of freedom from distress, and it leads to extinguishment. If I were to keep on thinking and considering this all night, all day, all night, and all day, I see no danger that would come from that. Still, thinking and considering for too long would tire my body. And when the body is tired, the mind is stressed. And when the mind is stressed, it's far from immersion. So I still settled, unified, and immersed my mind internally. Why is that? So that my mind would not be stressed. Whatever a mendicant frequently thinks about and considers becomes their mind's inclination. If they often think about and consider thoughts of renunciation, thoughts of goodwill, thoughts of harmlessness, they give up these thoughts and cultivate the opposite thought. Their mind inclines to thoughts of renunciation, goodwill, and harmlessness. Now the continuation of the simile. Suppose it's the last month of summer, when all the crops have been gathered within a village, and a cowherd must take care of the cattle. While at the root of a tree or in the open, he need only be mindful that the cattle are there. In the same way, I needed only to be mindful that those things were there. All right? Mindful that the skillful thoughts are there. My energy was aroused up and unflagging, my mindfulness was established and lucid, my body was tranquil and undisturbed, and my mind was immersed in samadhi and unified. Now we get into jhanas. Quite secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unskillful qualities, I entered and remained in the first jhana, which has the rapture and bliss born of seclusion, while placing the mind and keeping it connected. As the placing of the mind and keeping it connected were stilled, I entered and remained in the second jhana, which has the rapture and bliss born of immersion, with internal clarity and mind at one, without placing the mind and keeping it connected. And with the fading away of rapture, I entered and remained in the third jhana, where I meditated with equanimity, mindful and aware, personally experiencing the bliss of which the noble ones declare, equanimous and mindful, one meditates in bliss. With the giving up of pleasure and pain and the ending of former happiness and sadness, I entered and remained in the fourth jhana, without pleasure or pain, with pure equanimity and mindfulness. When my mind had immersed in samadhi like this, purified, bright, flawless, rid of corruptions, pliable, workable, steady, and imperturbable, I extended it toward the recollection of past lives. I recollected many kinds of past lives with features and details. This was the first knowledge I achieved in the first watch of the night. Ignorance was banished and knowledge arose. Darkness was banished and light arose, as happens for a meditator who is diligent, keen, and resolute. When my mind had become immersed in samadhi like this, I extended it toward the knowledge of death and rebirth of sentient beings. With clairvoyance that is purified and superhuman, I saw sentient beings passing away and being reborn, inferior and superior, beautiful and ugly, in a good place or a bad place. I understood how sentient beings pass on according to their deeds. This was the second knowledge which I achieved in the middle watch of the night. Ignorance was banished and knowledge arose, darkness was banished and light arose, and as happens for a meditator who is diligent, keen, and resolute. When my mind had become immersed in samadhi like this, I extended it toward knowledge of the ending of defilements. I truly understood this is suffering, this is the origin of suffering, this is the cessation of suffering, and this is the practice that leads to the cessation of suffering. I truly understood these are the defilements, this is the origin of the defilements, this is the cessation of the defilements, and this is the practice that leads to the cessation of defilements. Knowing and seeing like this, my mind was freed from the defilements of sensuality, desire to be reborn, and ignorance. I understood, rebirth is ended, the spiritual journey has been completed, what had to be done has been done, there is nothing further for this place. This was the third knowledge which I achieved in the last watch of the night. Ignorance was banished and knowledge arose, darkness was banished and light arose, as happens for a meditator who is diligent, keen, and resolute. Suppose that in a forested wilderness there was an expanse of low-lying marshes, and a large herd of deer lived nearby. Then along comes a person who wants to harm, injure, and threaten them. They close off the safe, secure path that leads to happiness, open the wrong path. There they plant domesticated male and female deer as decoys, so that in due course the herd of deer would fall to ruin and disaster. Then along comes a person who wants to help and keep the herd of deer safe. They open up the safe, secure path that leads to happiness and closes off the wrong path. They get rid of the decoys, so that in due course that herd of deer would grow, increase, and mature. I've made this simile to make a point, and this is what it means. An expanse of low-lying marshes is a term for sensual pleasures. A large herd of deer is a term for sentient beings. A person who wants to harm, injure, and threaten them is the term for Mara, the wicked. And we see this in a sutta that's going to be coming up as we read through the Majjhima Nikaya, literally called the bait, where the Buddha has a whole sutta about this simile of Mara baiting the deer, that is us. The wrong path is the term for the wrong eightfold path. Miccha magga, right? The wrong path. Wrong view, wrong thought, wrong speech, wrong action, wrong livelihood, wrong affect, wrong mindfulness, and wrong immersion. A domesticated male deer is the term for greed and relishing. A domesticated female deer is the term for ignorance. A person who wants to help keep the herd of deer safe is the term for the realized one, the perfected one, the fully awakened Buddha. The safe, secure path that leads to happiness is a term for the Noble Eightfold Path. That is, right view, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right immersion. So, mendicants, I have opened up the safe, secure path to happiness and closed off the wrong path. And I have got rid of the male and female decoys. Out of sympathy, I have done what a teacher should do who wants what's best for their disciples. Here are these roots of trees. Here are these empty huts. Practice jhana, mendicants. Don't be negligent. Don't regret it later. This is my instruction to you. That is what the Buddha said. Satisfied, the mendicants approved of what the Buddha said. And that deserves a Ajahn Brahm sadhu. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. I love that sutta. Such a wonderful, powerful, very practical sutta. You can, this is one of those wonderful suttas that you can just read and then put into practice right then and there. You don't have to worry about complicated theory and all these kind of things. The Buddha is literally telling you, so start dividing your thoughts. Do it. It's very simple. You can start right now. Wonderful, beautiful sutta. All right. Let's see. So we have only a few minutes before we might close out. So any comments, questions, clarifications? Bhante Sujato translates the next one as "How to Stop Thinking." I don't know if I don't know about that one, but it's certainly interesting for sure. Oh yeah, the stilling of thought. All right, yeah, I guess it works. All right, so we will work on that one next week. Yep, next week. All right. So then why don't we do final business and close out? Share merit. All right, friends. So if you are watching this for the first time and you'd like to know more about myself and the aspiring Buddhist organization, Magga Seka, I was just looking over the 501c3 paperwork today. And there's a pretty good chance that within a month, Magga Seka is a 501c3. So we're down to it. But anyway, so if you'd like to find out more information about myself and the aspiring Buddhist organization, Magga Seka, Student of the Path, you can go to their website listed on the screen, maggaseka.org, maggaseka.org. There you will find all information about me and the organization, all news and articles and various Dhamma-related things that I have on that website. And for those of you who are here, I encourage you, if you are able to do it, to come to Morning Monastery Experience, which now has a half-hour meditation at the end every morning at 8 a.m. New York time. Morning Monastery Experience is precepts, chanting, little Dhamma talk, and some meditation. Right, I think we're good, so let's share the merit. Yeah, I was just thinking, it's like I started visiting Colorado. I was thinking about Colorado before this, but I started visiting Colorado in November 2021. So it's been basically 4 years that I've been visiting Colorado. It's even my 5-year plan. My 5-year plan is kind of working. We'll see. I mean, it's still early. Lots of stuff can happen. Who knows? But things are progressing. So I cannot complain. All right. Dukkha patta chani dukkha, bhaya patta chani bhaya, soka patta chani soka, untu sabbe pipanino. Ettavata cha mehi sampatang punya sampatang sabbe deva anumodantu sabba sampati siddhya akasata chapumata deva naga mahidika punyang tang anumoditva charang rakantu sasanang. May the suffering ones be suffering free and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit of ours that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas, nagas, and yakas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddhist dispensation. All right, friends. Sukhi Hotu, may you be happy and at ease. Practice well and be well. And may you have a spiritually successful and peaceful practice until we meet again, which could be tomorrow morning for Morning Monastery Experience. Or maybe next Saturday on Insight Timer for the weekly Insight Timer session. Next Sunday on the Discord for our weekly sutta reading. Or if I'm alive, next Monday. Next Monday for another Dhammapalooza. So have a good week.